The Center for Social Media, showcasing and analyzing media for social justice, democracy, and civil society.
We were really hoping to pull together a unique mix of public broadcasters and social media makers and technology developers and a whole bunch of you who are clearly beyond categorization or taxonomy, I guess.
In May 2006, the Beyond Broadcast Conference, held at Harvard Law School's Berkman Center, brought together some 300 people, a mix of television broadcasters, academics, policymakers, and producers of many different kinds of new social media, to unleash, as Wired magazine put it, a torrent of speculation and anxiety around the fate of public media in an era when television audiences are moving rapidly to the internet.
Well, certainly what I was hoping for, and part of the thesis and intro to this whole thing, was that there is this tremendous potential at the intersection of traditional public media, the sort of ecosystem of public broadcasting stations and networks and producers and community radio and television, the intersection between that and this emerging, hugely vital, really kind of exploding and energetic, web-based, largely participatory media culture. But it's a question. It's not, I'm not sure. Is this adding up to some kind of a new public media? A third zone of some sort that's not quite commercial or non-commercial. It's generating its own communities, kind of a peer-to-peer civic engagement, perhaps. And you have to ask if it satisfies this need for a society to understand its place in the world and itself. Does this social media have a social mission?
It seems to me the underlying question in this moment is, especially for public broadcasting, is the internet the new public?
Several speakers documented how new players such as MySpace and Facebook are gaining numbers that quickly outdistance those of more traditional media on the internet. The new social spaces depend on user-generated content and peer-to-peer relationships. They offer not just information, but a place to be yourself, to add to the knowledge, and to feel like a meaningful part of something.
This is a fundamentally new way of connecting individual audience members one to another, rather than your audience to you.
The days of a small number of professionals making content for a vast mass audience are over.
Fewer and fewer of the old rules apply. This is analogous to letting go of the last vine before the new one presents itself. But the new rules haven't been written yet. And you are essentially, to use the vine analogy, in free fall, not knowing exactly what the new rules are going to be. And that certainly defines where all of our media organizations are these days.
David Leroff, the Chief Technology Officer for Boston's WGBH, sees a bright future for innovators.
After 50 years of one-way mass communications, where the audience was essentially anonymous to the communicator and the members of the audience are anonymous to each other, the media which now facilitate conversations both between the audience and the content providers, as well as among the members of the audience themselves, fundamentally change the relationship of the audience to the organization. And where we're having to learn to dance new steps is in becoming a much more highly interactive organization than the technologies previously permitted.
For the past couple years, we've been teaching people on the web how to video blog. Basically, I come out of a TV broadcast background and being frustrated with the barriers to entry. We realized that with just a simple blog and a little camera like this, you could go around and take any video you want, talk to it your friends, and you could then put that online for basically no money at all. So the idea is to have an unmediated conversation through a video.
Video blogging is only one example of a vast renegotiation of the boundaries between public and private space. The new realities challenge everything about the information industry, from the nature of the work process and the professional training of media makers to the core mission of creating information in the public interest.
Up until now, what we've been seeing is these emerging efforts to do participatory or collaborative media on the web with an enormous amount of enthusiasm, open source, happy geeks, young people, sort of frolicking in this new environment. And at the same time, you've had traditional public media increasingly working out some of the problems that broadcasters all face in this era. Broadcasters have been very worried. How are they going to adapt to the new environment? In the new environment, people are playing without any sense of really where they're going with it, which is what you'd expect of an experimental moment.
In fact, Beyond broadcast participants were invited to attend not only in the flesh, but via an avatar in a cyberspace mirror version of the conference created by Second Life. In addition, a wiki/blog website made feedback via the internet an integral part of the entire event, while participant video, still image, and audio clips of the conference mushroomed on a variety of sites, testifying to the changed role of the audience. One broadcaster reaching out to embrace the newly liberated viewer like you is Minnesota Public Radio, which has worked to turn its audience into active participants in its news-gathering process.
In the case of the news station, I've got about 500-some thousand, more than 500,000 listeners. Gee, they're a lot smarter on a lot of things than we are. What if we turned our newsroom around from being inside and trying to do stories from, as the gatekeeper, and took it outside to the audience and let them tell us things? So here's what we've done. We've basically created a database of listeners who are willing to give us information.
Peter Armstrong of One World TV suggests that while the authority to inform of the broadcaster can no longer be taken for granted, the need for information processors will be greater than ever.
I guess I want something that really takes the argument forward and gives me new evidence and new insight. If it's too raw, I'm not going to get that. If it's too wrapped up in entertainment, it's not going to be there anyway. So those kind of people can actually provide that element of meaning from, the maelstrom of life is a fantastic gift, and I don't care whether that's a famous brand or an individual or a small independent.
For anyone trying to link new media to something called the public, a key issue is the digital divide, the gap separating the online world from the large numbers of people globally with very limited access to technology.
Anyone who has the basic skills to communicate should have the ability to affect discourse in their community in a positive way. They should have a voice. They shouldn't be sitting in the back letting others make major decisions and influencing those decisions. And so by having people learn how to blog and podcast and all these other tools, it gives them a whole new outlet for communicating with what's going on locally and at a larger level as well.
It's very refreshing to, in Africa, do something with mobile phones, which are a huge phenomenon. I mean, the numbers of mobile phones in Kenya, 1 million a few years ago, then 2 million, then 4 million, now it's past 5 million. Each one, on average, shared by 6 people, so that's like more than 20 million people with access to mobile phones, and enough money to receive a few SMS texts. And on those texts, you can put great stuff. You can put job opportunities, you can put HIV health information, you can put local news about what's happening in the community next week. And you can really see it making a difference. I mean, 70% of our SMS messages result in people getting the job.
For Dan Gilmore, the San Jose reporter turned grassroots journalism advocate, the role of new participatory media lies at the core of renewing democracy.
The act of getting off the couch and stop being a couch potato and going to the computer or to a variety of news sources and assembling, rolling your own news report to get a better view of the world than you get from the manufactured news products that we get today. And to triangulate off of things. That's a wonderful first step. I think it's very likely that once people realize they can actually get something done by collaborating in this new world, that they can, maybe they'll realize they can get something done politically or socially or in other ways, in ways that make us a better society. That's my hope.
The purchase of MySpace by Fox News was mentioned often by participants as a reminder that free or open media space is under threat and rapidly being incorporated into the same commercial landscape that other mass media occupy. While commercialism and the public interest are not inherently at odds, the commercial sphere offers no guarantees outside of its profit-making goals. A truly public media space will have to be fought for, and it will have to be paid for as well. While a variety of ideas were offered, from pay-per-click to increased local support, the idea of support via federal tax dollars was widely seen as no longer viable.
Having sat here today, I discovered that almost everyone who has presented a business model that is based on charity or advertising. And I frankly think that we need a different model, better grounded in civil society, if we are to have a sustainable public media with a public purpose, or as Jamie said this morning, a social media with a social message.
But what everybody's still trying to figure out is, how do you support it? And that is a problem that is as real for anybody who wants to do public media as it is for people working in a corporate sphere. So I think the public media people are actually looking to corporate activity to say, well, what models are they using, and do they pose any opportunities for models we might use in the future?
Imagine a membership model where people know that they're getting a chance to do open participatory one of the functions, and I suspect the more functions you let them do, the more they're liable to pay.
Yet Berkman Center co-founder Charles Nesson ended on an optimistic note.
The corporation that formed back in the 1800s learned how to make money on information control, and then learned how to spend its money on lobbyists and political contribution, learned how to work the law so that by the time we come to the present, the law is totally distorted in the direction of the for-profit company. Completely understandable process. The inflection point. It comes when a competing consciousness starts to grow strong enough to offset the consciousness of the for-profit world. And that's what I believe is happening.